be with their students. I know I do.
Everyone wants our schools to be open. The question is how to make it safe, how to make it stick. Forcing education students back into a classroom in areas where the infection rate is going up or remaining very high is just plain dangerous.
Teachers are tough. We're right there with our students for all of their ups and downs. We pick them up when they fall.
Okay, and I went over all the reasons yesterday. Kids not learning, especially lower income kids. And all these educators now saying this is a bad idea, we need to get back to school. Trump was right, got ridiculed, got mocked. Now check this out. According to the Journal of Forensic Pathology, doctors attributed a Croatian man's death to the Wuhan virus, even though he died after, get this, falling off a ladder. 51-year-old man, I'm not laughing at him falling off the ladder, obviously that's tragic, but to call that COVID, fell off a 10-foot ladder while working on a home, suffered minor external injuries, a hemorrhage, described as bleeding within the subarachnoid space, which is the area between the brain and the tissues that cover the brain. Autopsy discovered visceral congestion, particularly in the lungs. During the autopsy, doctors found large swaths of the man's lungs were blocked. The finding led the scientists to conclude that he suffered from acute respiratory distress syndrome, a life-threatening condition that can be caused by COVID-19. According to the journal, the man had been complaining about a respiratory-like illness in the days leading to the fatal incident, experiencing symptoms like headache, fever, cough, fatigue, shortness of breath. Quote, he had refused the suggestion to see a doctor and kept working until the moment he died, end of quote. A test taken post-mortem showed him testing positive for the virus. Quote, based on all the findings, the death was ruled as natural caused by COVID-19, close quote, the journal wrote. Man fell off a ladder. He was COVID-19 positive, so they attributed it to COVID-19. What, the COVID-19 made him fall off the ladder? Is that what they're saying? Maybe he was adjusting his mask, slipped off. Now, as I mentioned, Dominion, this is the election system that's under the gun. They were scheduled to attend a hearing in Pennsylvania to talk about their system, how safe it is, how nobody was able to hack into it, how the election was fair and square. And the last minute, they don't show up. Here is Republican leader.
Thinking Dominion was willing to publicly back up their product, which Pennsylvania taxpayers invested millions to purchase and voters entrusted with their sacred ballots, was truly remarkable. I truly felt Pennsylvanians and the nation could get some answers into the truth of the effectiveness of Dominion voting systems. Unfortunately, last evening, Dominion voting systems lawyered up and backed out of their commitment to the people of Pennsylvania to provide their input in a public format and discuss their voting systems, of which 1.3 Pennsylvanians entrusted. Instead of running towards the light of honesty and integrity, Dominion voting systems retreated to the darkness. Why? Why would a vendor of public goods fear discussing their products sold to the public for the public good? If Dominion's products were successful and operated as they were supposed to, why wouldn't Dominion take the opportunity to publicly review its success? How hard is it to say our ballot machines worked exactly as promised and they are 100% accurate? Why, after weeks of accusations, has Dominion Voting Systems not released any analysis of the success of their voting machines to the public in order to stop their accusers in their tracks? They have nothing to hide. Why are they hiding from us? Today, I am saddened to report to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania and the 1.3 million voters who trusted Dominion Voting Systems with their ballots that Dominion Voting Systems has hung you out to dry and slapped you in your faces. Not only are Pennsylvanians more skeptical, but the actions of Dominion Voting Systems last night have led credibility to their accusers' accusations. To date, the Secretary of State has initiated no plans to address any concerns of Pennsylvanians. A concerning number of Pennsylvanians have lost faith in the integrity of our election process. The elections were conducted above board. The Secretary of State and the Department would be falling over themselves to verify the results and put to rest the mistrust of this election. Trust must be earned. It's up to Dominion voting systems to earn the voters' trust. It is up to the Secretary of State to invalidate any rumor or accusation. I would like to call on Representative Don Kiefer to review some of the accusations against Dominion voting systems that we could have had answers to today, but will continue to process throughout rumor mills across the Commonwealth and across the United States.
Your calls, we come back, and a Biden COVID advisor says the longer we wait on transition, the more people will die. Well, then why aren't you suing to demand to start the transition? I'm Larry Elder.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Republicans should be on to Georgia. Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, had a line from his most famous news conference ever. After a 41-14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, Belichick answered question after question with, "We're on to Cincinnati." After Joe Biden's victory was declared by media organizations on Saturday, the mantra of Republicans for the next 2 months should be, "We are on to Georgia." Because on January 5, Georgians will decide 2 United States Senate seats in runoff elections. The course of the nation over the next 2 years is in the balance. If Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win, Americans will have divided government and compromise. If left-wing, indeed radical Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock win, the nation will see Supreme Court packing, cuts in the military spending, and socialized medicine. If Trump wants a comeback in 2024, it starts in the Peach State on January 5. We're on to Georgia.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The situation in each state is a little different. In Arizona, they are simply refusing to have a recount, and that's outrageous. The law says you're only entitled to a mandatory recount if you lost by fewer than 500 votes. And that's designed for dog catcher elections. But for president in a state that casts 3 million votes, you're not going to have a 500 vote margin. In Georgia, they're having a recount, but the inspectors are 40 feet away. There's no way the Republican can see them doing this recount, much less check the ballot.
What is that? What kind of a joke is that? I mean, I don't really even understand.
Democrats being partisan. It's the election.
It's called cheating, Dick. It's called cheating. How do you? How is that possible? How can the lawyers? How can this be possible that they would allow what's obviously cheating?
I think Trump's people were asleep at the switch and should have been there in these polling places protesting. Certainly the recount. During the recount, they were protesting, but they were not listened to. Also in Georgia, I think I said earlier, but let me repeat, there were 200 people between the ages of 105 and 110 who voted. There were 2,000 people over the age of 100 who were supposed to have voted. And there were 27,000 people over the age of 90, between 90 and 100, who were said to have voted. And I wish everybody health in Georgia, but somehow I don't think all those people actually voted.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Let's go to a true expert in the field. His friends call him Fredo, and he's not happy with another medical professional called Dr. Atlas. And the question at hand is Thanksgiving. This is cut 7. I think Fredo's taken too many steroids. Play cut.
What the hell are you doing here? Yeah, it could be their last Thanksgiving. If you expose them to people who aren't wearing masks, who aren't socially distancing, and haven't been doing so, and haven't gotten tested, because they somehow think they don't want to get in on the con of COVID. You know, you want to hide on state news, you do it. But someday, you're going to have to deal with real questions. And either you're going to come on a show or you're going to do it. But you know what? We may go back to old school. And maybe the questions will come find you. Maybe when you're living your life nice and easy, because you don't have the concern.
Just go to youtube.com/. Hey, Larry. Love the show. We are literally we are literally on the verge of being a third world country in terms of voting. This is absolutely ridiculous. Dominion, how in the hell do we have overseas systems with our voting? This is just unbelievable. Who lets this happen? How does this happen? This third world is literally they can just rig it for the rest of, I don't know, eternity.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243, Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio. Now, as we get ready to head into the weekend, I want to thank all of you who've already donated to my Angel Tree campaign, something we do every time of the year this time. It makes Christmas a little bit brighter for some of the 2.7 million kids here in America with a mom or a dad in prison. One of those incarcerated moms, a woman named Michelle, is helping other prisoners reach out through our friends at Prison Fellowship. But Michelle says her first experience meeting other female inmates, well, it wasn't easy.
Scary women I would have been frightened of. We're now sitting across from me in this little tiny room where our knees are actually almost touching, and I'm helping them fill out an application for their children for Angel Tree. Angel Tree brought in hope, a little ray of light to a very, very dark place, and allowed us moms to be able to reach outside the prison walls to our families and let our children know that they weren't forgotten and that we were still thinking about them. Angel Tree just made a huge difference in my life.
And it all begins with the donation to our Angel Tree campaign. Just go to my website, LarryElder.com, click on the Angel Tree banner, or you can phone in your donation by calling my special number, 888-206-2763, 888-206-2763. You could literally change a child's life. Plus, every Angel Tree family is also given access to a free, easy-to-read copy of the Bible in English or in Spanish. So please go to my website, LarryElder.com, click on the Angel Tree banner, and thank you so much for joining my campaign to help Prison Fellowship. Robert is in Sacramento, California. Robert, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Hey, Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing well.
I've been listening to you for a long time. When I go home, you're the person I turn on and listen to.
Thank you.
What I'm calling is because, sorry, it's a little loud. I had an idea today. I was wondering why the Republican states don't do the recall, and that way they can do a full audit themselves. And maybe Florida or Texas can do the recall and go through those ballots and make sure that if they're real or not. And if they're not, maybe some of those senators and the Congress people on the Democrat side that won raises, maybe they can be recalled.
Well, Robert, I don't think that's a bad idea, but in those states, people are not making an argument that votes are being ripped off. Now, I don't know what's going on down ballot. Maybe some arguments are being made that way down ballot, but I think anytime there's a question, there ought to be something done to make sure that the American people, the American voter, realizes that when his or her vote is cast, that cast is legitimate and it's actually counted. Daniel is in Fort Worth, Texas. Daniel, you're on the Larry Elder Show.
How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing well.
Good. So I wanted to bring up, I haven't heard you discuss it, and I haven't heard this getting much traction on the media, but on October 26th of 2020, there was a PBS broadcast regarding the Dominion software, and specifically in Georgia. And in this broadcast, it's about a 20-minute broadcast, or episode, they discussed the issues with the Dominion software, the issues with the hardware, the complexity of the systems, and how they felt most of the poll workers felt like they weren't trained properly to use it because of the complexity. And it was also brought up briefly, but there was a software upgrade that was forced out onto all these systems right before that episode came out. And there was a lot of, given the details that were in that show versus what we're seeing in Georgia, I really think people ought to know more about this episode and speak more about it so that we can, discuss the issues with Dominion that were already discussed before this election happened.
Well, Daniel, I didn't know about that broadcast, but I'll check it out. I do know this, that in 2016, the New York Times put out a video. We played part of it, where they also questioned these machines. And a few years ago, Fox News did a segment where they interviewed a professor who was able to hack the Dominion machine in 7 minutes. So, yeah, these things need to be investigated thoroughly. I'll check out that PBS episode, though, Daniel. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Chris is in San Antonio, Texas. Chris, you're on the Larry Yoder Show.
Oh, wow. What an honor to speak with the great Odersky. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Chris.
Well, I tell you, I love what you do every day. I love your humor. I love your passion. I love all that bumper music, too. If I could put in a little request for some more Rakim and maybe a little Big Daddy Kane.
Big Daddy Kane?
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay. We'll get them both.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So I'm waiting in line at the grocery store before your show today. I had to make sure I was done so I could listen to your show. And I see a commemorative edition of Time Magazine. They've got the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the drive home, so I put it on NPR, and, I got about 10 minutes before your show starts, right? And they're calling him a tyrant, dictator. They had somebody on there calling him an authoritarian. And I guess my question is, can you imagine if this goes to the courts and then it goes to Congress and then it goes for President Trump like we all know it should?
Chris, mass suicide. Mass suicide.
This whole cities are going to be burning to the ground.
Their ears would explode. I mean, it would be catastrophic for the left if Donald Trump were awarded the election. You think we feel that the election was fraudulent? What do you think they're going to feel? They're going to go absolutely bonkers. They believe that the Russians not only interfered, but 78% of them believe that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, even though our intelligence committee has never reached that conclusion. So they're going to go absolutely bonkers. Remember what Hillary advised Joe Biden?
So we've got to have a massive legal operation. I know the Biden campaign is working on that. We have to have poll workers, and I urge people who are able to be a poll worker. We have to have our own teams of people to counter the force of intimidation that the Republicans and Trump are going to put outside polling places. This is a big organizational challenge, but at least we know more about what they're going to do. And, Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, because I think this is going to drag out, and eventually I do believe he will win if we don't give an inch.
They would go absolutely ballistic. What's that movie with Mel Gibson? It's a Mel Gibson, a dystopian kind of movie where he's on a Jeep and it's just barren territory. What's it called? Mad Max. Yeah, that's what's going to be like. It'll be like Mad Max. People be driving around, hunting down Trump voters, looking for them. They would go crazy, absolutely crazy. Can't wait. 888-971-SAGE. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Now, mind you, while the chattering class is now calling for a cancellation of Thanksgiving, they're calling out for pseudo-Gestapo squads to go out to arrest people that are gathering on Thanksgiving. California lawmakers head to Maui with lobbyists despite pandemic and travel warnings. This is from Politico. They did a nice work of journalism here by Katie Murphy. Roughly 100 people from 4 states converged at Fairmont, Kealani for a 4-day legislative conference organized by the Independent Voter Project. The 18th annual event was a third of its regular size, but it drew 20 lawmakers from California, Texas, and Washington state. The theme, how to reopen state economies amid the public health crisis. So it's okay to go travel to Hawaii, probably on taxpayer dime, with lobbyists, but somehow at the same time we must cancel Thanksgiving. All the while, we have Governor Mussolini. I say that kiddingly. Media matters, okay? Half kiddingly, all right? Governor Mussolini was found in Napa Valley at French Laundry, no social distancing, no masks, well over the declared edict of not allowing people to have tables of over 5 to 6 people. And let's pull this picture up on screen. Looks like Governor Newsom on screen here, who he said he was outdoors. He obviously wasn't. He was with 12 people with looks like very, very expensive glasses of wine. I mean, if I could just look at a picture of what the American ruling class is, it's this picture.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's some big picture stuff. Two things are going to remain true. Much of the country will stay convinced that this election was not legitimate, it wasn't fair, it wasn't accurate, it wasn't right. Much of the country, including those who are glad Biden supposedly won, are glad that there was such chaos and a nightmarish election. They're celebrating. They don't care how Trump lost. They don't care how he gets defeated. They don't care if it's an impeachment that will do it. Doesn't bother them if it's a phony Russia investigation. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's leaks from the White House and people stabbing in the back who are supposed to serve at the pleasure of the president. It doesn't matter if the media lies about polls. 17 points? Biden was going to beat Trump in Wisconsin? Look at Wisconsin. Look at Wisconsin. I think that it was a 20,000 vote differential in Wisconsin, less than a percentage point, that Biden supposedly edged out Donald Trump. Wink, wink. The Washington Post poll said that Biden was going to win by 17 points. Oh, but that's an accident, right? That has to do with just flawed polling, right? Bull crap. So guess what, mainstream media? You're stuck.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
So the intimidation, the fear of violence, the
America, we have a country to save. And now, here's Larry Elder.
Well, it makes me sad. I've never been a great fan of Mr. Obama, but this is really, really disappointing. This I think, makes the point. Obama feels a pressure. Many blacks do. We all do, really. That if you don't really take on a negative attitude toward America, you are somehow inauthentic as a black person. And so we as blacks suffer from what might be called the angst of inauthenticity. And so we do, as what you just mentioned, Obama, we identify with victimization as the deep and profound truth of who we are. I can't imagine a sadder statement. Can you imagine Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, any number of other great leaders saying something like that?
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio. That was Shelby Steele. Remember that name. I'm going to talk to my next guest about that attitude. Her name is retired Lieutenant Colonel Frances P. Rice, 20 years of active service with several distinguished medals. All of that next segment. Stick around for that. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Seth is in San Francisco. Seth, you're on the Larry Elder Show. Thank you so much for calling.
Hey, Larry. I'm so pleased to be able to talk to you. I'm just getting home from work. I've been listening to you for a couple of years now, And I'm just so thankful for what you do for Black people, the Black community. So much of my life I've felt, I'm a Black man, I've felt so, I guess, isolated being a Christian and also being a conservative, constantly arguing with pretty much every Black person I come around in the Bay Area who has that, you know, is always trying to defend the Black community and just has that same narrative. And I'd always say to them,
Seth, I call that a victocrat mentality. That's what I call it, the victocrat mentality.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's totally that. And I would always say the problem is morality, but it's like, as there's a moral problem with the Black community,
mm-hmm.
you know, and it even extends itself into the church, into the Black church, where you see what they celebrate, you know, and, but I'm so glad to have you and to have men like Thomas Sowell and other conservatives out there that have really given me, I guess, the chops to really be able to argue, and then also looking into things that you would talk about, like the Moynihan Report and things
mm-hmm.
of that nature, that really show how the issue is within our community. But aside from that, I just, that's just to thank you for what you're doing for the Black community and how you've given a voice to conservative Black men, and it gives me strength to keep battling, like in Facebook, with the nonsense and whatnot. So I try to stay off there because there's too many victocrats out there. But what I wanted to say real quick is that I want to talk about the media. Our media, I'm married to a Russian. I met her 10 years ago by the grace of God. And so I actually will watch Russian news. I don't know Russian that well, but I can get it translated. And I watched it we've been married 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen the propaganda, and we would tell her, it wasn't until she came here to America that she really could see the propaganda in Russia, and it's just all pro-Russia, but it's like Russian patriotism, and it's like, there's no free speech there, so any opposition party is squelched in Russia. There's this guy who recently got poisoned,
mm-hmm.
Who's like the main opposition leader there. And the thing is, though, but our media actually is worse than Russian media, because they teach the journalists to actually be pro-Russian, to not say anything negative. But in our media, it's actually going against the people. The people have no outlet. They are oppressed, truly. They do have a despot. But here, they're trying to call Donald Trump a despot when they're actually the despots, the media. They're the ones taking power, like the Nancy Pelosi's and these people, and even the Joe Biden, that liar. I mean, he has absolutely no integrity, and it's like, and that's where the media is. They have literally no integrity, and it's like, I can't believe I actually can see that it's worse than Russian news.
Well, Seth, thank you very much for calling and for talking with us. What gets me, one of the big narratives of the media, of course, is that racism remains a major problem in America. That's why you get words like systemic racism or systematic racism. When Barack Obama ran, he said, hey, if I don't get elected, it won't be because I'm black. That's what he told Steve Croft. Fast forward, race card whipped out whenever he can. And when after he left, he goes and gives a commencement address at Howard and says, hey, this country's great. If you could be born anytime, anywhere, where would it be? It would be here and now.
Given the current state of our political rhetoric and debate, let me say something that may be controversial, and that is this.
Okay. Now, for years, I've been telling you about Relief Factor. 5, 7 years? Some say there might be 100 million folks struggling with some kind of pain, whether from exercise or just getting older. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father-son owners of Relief Factor, well, they are on a mission. You rarely see that kind of focus. Here's their deal. If you're struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, or knee pain, even general muscle aches and pain, I suggest you order their 3-week Quick Start. They've discounted it to $19.95. That's less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, we're talking about the cost, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to stay out of pain. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
Newt Gingrich said that if the absentee ballot requests and the absentee ballot submissions were done based on previous precedent, President Trump would have won the state by 40,000 votes. Officials in Fayette County unearthed 2,755 ballots that have not been included in the original count. 1,500 of them went for Trump, 1,100 for Biden. So that's a 400 vote gain for President Trump. The audit of votes in the presidential race also revealed missing votes in Walton County. 284 ballots were added from the between precinct. They netted 176 votes for President Trump. And Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office cited human error and gross negligence in 2,600 missing votes in Floyd County. He called for the Floyd County election manager to resign. And now a Republican election monitor discovered 9,626 vote error in the DeKalb County hand recount. One batch was labeled 10,707 for Biden and 13 for Trump, an improbable margin even by DeKalb standards, when in reality, the actual count of the batch was 1,081 for Biden and 13 for Trump. To give you an idea, the Biden margin for error in this batch of votes was 99.9%. To give you an idea, Bashar al-Assad, when he ran in 2007, his margin was 97.6%. Raul Castro in 2008, 99.4%. But it did match Kim Jong-il's 2009 margin, 99.9%.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Do that, and the president himself is convinced that without a question, if we counted the votes accurately, he really did win. And you yourself are convinced of that. I take you very seriously.
Yeah, I'm very totally convinced of it. So here's what we need to do. The president emphasized to me that the power to assign electors, to choose the electors who actually choose the president, is vested in Article 2, Section 1, look it up yourself, of the U.S. Constitution in the state legislatures. And he said that he felt that the key need here was to mobilize the Republican leaders of these states. All of these states that are at issue are controlled by Republican state legislatures. 4 of the 5 have Democratic governors. Georgia has an anti-Trump Republican. But the point is, all 5 have Republican legislatures. And he was urging me to tell people
Jim Crow discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, that casts a long shadow. And that's still part of our DNA. That's passed on. We're not cured of it. Racism. We are not cured of. Clearly. And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio on this Phone a Bro Friday. Can you beat Kirk Friday? More on this in due course. Again, we're going to be doing this in the third hour, and the categories are going to be sports, this week in the news, famous lawyers, movies of the 1990s, which is an audio clue, and vice president. If you think you're strong in all those categories, check us out in the third hour. Now, my next guest has written a book, co-authored a book. It's called Black History 1619-2019, an illustrated and documented African-American history. She is a retired Army colonel, 20 years of active experience with several distinguished medals. Also is a lawyer, graduated from Hastings here in California, has an MBA also from Golden Gate University, and is a prolific writer, author, filmmaker. She also did a documentary about a filmmaker, black filmmaker named Oscar Micheaux, the czar of Black Hollywood. Also a documentary called In the Hour of Chaos, which tells about the story of Reverend Martin Luther King Sr., who was, in fact, a Republican. And a documentary called No Lie, L-Y-E, an American beauty story. I assume that's about Madam C.J. Walker, the first black female millionaire in the country. Please welcome to the program retired Army Colonel Frances Presley Rice.
Well, hello, Larry, the sage. So nice of you to have me on.
Colonel, thank you so much for taking the time. We really do appreciate it. What an extraordinary book. Tell me what your goal was. You write in the beginning of it, you want to correct some misconceptions. What are the misconceptions you wanted to correct?
Oh, everything.
Where do we start?
Our book, yes, indeed. Our book is designed to put the entire 400-year history of the black experience in one place, bringing to light hidden black history for our current and future generations. And the film that I'm producing, called Black Seeds, is a 2-part epic that puts the history into a visual format and is inspired by our book.
Frances, a number of questions I want to ask you about. But I want to start with the end of your book, if we could. Because you talk about this attitude that blacks have voted for the Democratic Party on most issues, but you point out that blacks don't agree with the party on most issues. School prayer, supported by blacks by 80%. School choice by 73%. Faith-based initiatives, 74%. The idea of having English as the official language of America, 84%. And you write, quote, it's as though they are in a political dance with a partner with whom they have little in common, end of quote.
Absolutely, and I love the way you pull this together also in your film, Uncle Tom. And the decision to shoot that in black and white was inspired. And I'd like to know what motivated you to do that movie.
Frances, this is your interview. Not mine.
The sage again.
Frances, tell me why you joined the military. And when did you do it? I mean, you had to be one of the only females at your rank when you retired, black females at your rank when you retired.
In fact, I was the highest-ranking woman in the military at the time, in the JAG Corps, the Judge Advocate General's Corps, the Lawyers Corps, and I was the highest-ranking black woman in the Judge Advocate General's Corps at that time. Now, yes, indeed. And I joined the Army in 1964, so you can imagine what I had to face. At that time, there was no affirmative action. If you did not perform, you were out of there. So by the time I retired in 1984, 20 years later, I had shown them that the fact that I was born in poverty with very little to eat and hardly any clothes on my back, I could rise from that level of poverty to becoming the highest-ranking woman, highest-ranking black woman in the Judge Advocate General Corps and getting the Legion of Merit, the highest medal that could be afforded to, the second highest one that could be afforded to a non-combatant.
My guest is retired Army Colonel Frances Presley Rice. Frances, tell me where you're from. Tell me about your background, your parents.
Oh, yes, indeed. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm being born in 1944. I'm no spring chicken. I was born at a time when it was the Democrats who were the ones who were sicking those fire hoses and dogs on the black people. We, at that time, knew that it was the Democrats who were denying us our civil rights, and in fact, most blacks at that time, particularly in that area, were Republican, as was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Martin Luther King Sr.
Mm-hmm. Now, Frances, you're from Atlanta, so that means you must have gone to the Ebenezer Church several times.
Indeed, I did. And I also participated in the civil rights movement as a teenager. We were walking around with our placards saying, desegregate and let us have a chance to have equal opportunity. And we didn't know at the time, as teenagers, as kids, that we were being put in the front line so that if any one of us got killed, it would shock the nation.
Mm-hmm. So you actually participated in demonstrations for desegregation as opposed to Joe Biden, who claims he did when there's no evidence.
Absolutely.
Okay,
we were confronted.
I'm sorry. So your parents, Frances, what did they do?
Yes, my mom and dad had 5 kids, and at the time we were so poor, we had very little to eat, and so we decided, at least my parents did, that in order for us to be able to survive, we had to get father out of the house so we can get what little welfare crumbs they could give to us. But my mom said to us, you were born poor, but you don't have to die poor. So if you get a good education, what they put into your head, no one can take away. So even under extreme circumstances, the 5 kids did very well, thanks to Mom encouraging us. And 3 of us got advanced degree, 2 of us got graduate degrees, and we ended up being something that is the American dream. It would not have been possible were it not for the fact that America is not a racist country.
Francis, your father?
We never knew what happened to him. He disappeared, and it's been a sad thing, and we've always wondered. But he made a sacrifice for his family. At that time, black men could not get employment, and my mom had to work and 2 jobs in order to make sure that we had something to eat, and I had to go to school during the day, come home at night, help take care of my 4 siblings, and study, plus take a job after I'd done all of that, and then come home dog-tired, do my homework, and then go back to school the next day. I graduated at the top of my class.
Francis, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to ask you why you joined the military. Lieutenant Army Colonel Francis Presley Rice is my guest. Do not leave town.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Republicans should be on to Georgia. Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, had a line from his most famous news conference ever. After a 41-14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, Belichick answered question after question with, "We're on to Cincinnati." After Joe Biden's victory was declared by media organizations on Saturday, the mantra of Republicans for the next 2 months should be, "We are on to Georgia." Because on January 5, Georgians will decide 2 United States Senate seats in runoff elections. The course of the nation over the next 2 years is in the balance. If Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win, Americans will have divided government and compromise. If left-wing, indeed radical Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock win, the nation will see Supreme Court packing, cuts in the military spending, and socialized medicine. If Trump wants a comeback in 2024, it starts in the Peach State on January 5. We're on to Georgia.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The situation in each state is a little different. In Arizona, they are simply refusing to have a recount, and that's outrageous. The law says you're only entitled to a mandatory recount if you lost by fewer than 500 votes. And that's designed for dog catcher elections. But for president in a state that casts 3 million votes, you're not going to have a 500 vote margin. In Georgia, they're having a recount, but the inspectors are 40 feet away. There's no way the Republican can see them doing this recount, much less check the ballot.
What is that? What kind of a joke is that? I mean, I don't really even understand.
Democrats being partisan. It's the election machinery.
Cheating, Dick. It's called cheating. How do you? How is that possible? How can the lawyers? How can this be possible that they would allow? Well, obviously cheating.
I think Trump's people were asleep at the switch and should have been there in these polling places protesting. Certainly the recount. During the recount, they were protesting, but they were not listened to. Also in Georgia, I think I said earlier, but let me repeat, there were 200 people between the ages of 105 and 110 who voted. There were 2,000 people over the age of 100 who were supposed to have voted. And there were 27,000 people over the age of 90, between 90 and 100, who were said to have voted. And I wish everybody health in Georgia, but somehow I don't think all those people actually voted.
History Tour Month? Oh, come on. What do you do with yours? Which month is White History Month? No, come on. Tell me.
Well, I'm Jewish.
Okay. Which month is Jewish History Month?
There isn't one.
Oh. Why not?
Yeah.
Do you want one?
No.
I don't either. I don't want a Black History Month. Black history is American history.
How are we going to get rid of racism?
Stop talking about it.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Larry Elder, ReliefFactory.com studio. Our last few minutes with retired Army Colonel Frances Presley Rice. She's written a book called Black History 1619-2019. She's also a prolific writer and filmmaker. Frances, I was asking you why you joined the Army. That's 1964. That's right when Vietnam was getting real serious.
Oh, absolutely. And it was during an era when I was in college, and I looked around and saw there would not be much opportunity for me in the Democrat-controlled South. And when the Army recruiter showed up at our school and said, join the Army, see the world, get paid, and continue your education, I took him up on it. And 20 years later, after that, everything came true. It was a little hard because of the era in which I was in the military, but I'm glad I did. It gave me a chance to finally do something about what I saw the Democrats are doing to blacks. And as author Michael Shore wrote, the Democratic Party is the party of the 4 S's: slavery, secession, segregation, and now socialism. And as you pointed out in your movie, blacks have been under control of Democrats for decades, and the failed socialist policies have turned those communities into economic and social wastelands.
You then go to law school, and then you get an MBA. Tell me about going to law school.
Yes, I was in the military, and I saw an advertisement that those officers who wanted to go to law school could apply. I applied, and it was accepted. There was a catch. You had to go to a civilian law school while in the military, so I applied to 3 law schools. I was accepted into all 3 in San Francisco. I was stationed at that time at the city of San Francisco, and I chose Hastings Law School, which is part of the University of California system. And so I went to law school during the winter months, and in the summer months I came back on the military to do internship. And I also decided to go to school at night at Golden Gate University and get my MBA degree. So I was working on 2 degrees at the same time.
Frances, we only have about 30 seconds left. What do you want to say to young black people today, the ones out in the streets complaining about systemic racism? What do you want to say to them?
I like to say that if systemic racism exists, consider who is responsible. Leftists control every major institution in America: mainstream media, academia, administrative government, Hollywood, and big tech. So tell me, who is responsible for systemic racism? It's certainly not America, and it's certainly not the Republican Party.
The book is called Black History 1619 to 2019, an illustrated and documented African-American history, co-written by my guest, Frances Presley Rice. It's up on LarryElder.com. Frances, God bless.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
Now, mind you, while the chattering class is now calling for a cancellation of Thanksgiving, they're calling out for pseudo-Gestapo squads to go out to arrest people that are gathering on Thanksgiving. California lawmakers head to Maui with lobbyists despite pandemic and travel warnings. This is from Politico. They did a nice work of journalism here by Katie Murphy. Roughly 100 people from 4 states converged at Fairmont, Kealani, for a 4-day legislative conference organized by the Independent Voter Project. The 18th annual event was a third of its regular size, but it drew 20 lawmakers from California, Texas, and Washington state. The theme, how to reopen state economies amid the public health crisis. So it's okay to go travel to Hawaii, probably on taxpayer dime, with lobbyists, but somehow at the same time we must cancel Thanksgiving. All the while, we have Governor Mussolini. I say that kiddingly. Media matters, okay? Half kiddingly, all right? Governor Mussolini was found in Napa Valley at French Laundry, no social distancing, no masks, well over the declared edict of not allowing people to have tables of over 5 to 6 people. And let's pull this picture up on screen. Looks like Governor Newsom on screen here, who he said he was outdoors. He obviously wasn't. He was with 12 people with looks like very, very expensive glasses of wine. I mean, if I could just look at a picture of what the American ruling class is, it's this picture.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's some big picture stuff. Two things are going to remain true. Much of the country will stay convinced that this election was not legitimate, it wasn't fair, it wasn't accurate, it wasn't right. Much of the country, including those who are glad Biden supposedly won, are glad that there was such chaos and a nightmarish election. They're celebrating. They don't care how Trump lost. They don't care how he gets defeated. They don't care if it's an impeachment that will do it. Doesn't bother them if it's a phony Russia investigation. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's leaks from the White House and people stabbing in the back who are supposed to serve at the pleasure of the president. It doesn't matter if the media lies about polls. 17 points? Biden was going to beat Trump in Wisconsin? Look at Wisconsin. Look at Wisconsin. I think that it was a 20,000 vote differential in Wisconsin, less than a percentage point, that Biden supposedly edged out Donald Trump. Wink, wink. The Washington Post poll said that Biden was going to win by 17 points. Oh, but that's an accident, right? That has to do with just flawed polling, right? Bull crap. So guess what, mainstream media? You're stuck.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
So the intimidation, the fear of violence, the increase of violence we have witnessed across America for the last 10 months, that's what should make us happy? That we maybe dodged even more violence? Is that how America was founded? Is that how the Boston Tea Party occurred? That those who try to intimidate us succeed, and we see that as the silver lining? My friend's friend said, well, you know, if he takes the White House, at least now we'll have time that all of these things have been uncovered to fix them. And again, resisting my wife's blandishments to behave, I said, what? The Democrats are going to fix it? If Biden steals the election and he's in the White House and they have the House of Representatives and potentially the Senate, if they can steal the Georgia runoffs as well, oh, that's when the Democrats fix things? That will be the conclusion they drew, that, oh, we stole this election. So now, let's make it harder for us to steal the next one. What planet are these people living on?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Biden. If Susan Rice is nominated to be the Secretary of State, will you vote yes, no, or have you not made up your mind?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, it's not fair for me to make a pronouncement like that. Here's the bottom line. Joe Biden is going to nominate people to positions. If he takes office, he'll nominate people to positions that, frankly, I would never nominate if I were president, and I wouldn't support if I had my choice. But I do believe presidents deserve some deference in who they nominate. Now, obviously, there are things that could be disqualifying. And so let me just say, I'm not going to make broad pronouncements about someone like Susan Rice, who I've limited interaction with. I will certainly the president will deserve some deference in that regard. But I want to know more about what it is she intends to do as Secretary of State on some key issues around the world and so forth, and look at a record. There are others that I can tell you, frankly, with no disrespect to them on a personal level, but I mean, I could never support, and I don't dislike Bernie Sanders, by the way.
Triple 8-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. We had a suggestion to check out a PBS piece on the Georgia new voting machines that aired in October of this year. We took a look at it, and we think it's worth playing. Lots of concerns about the reliability. Listen to this.
Protecting the voting process from outside interference is a high priority this election season. In his latest report, Miles O'Brien looks at some of the latest technology being used in Georgia.
Now, before we continue this, next segment we will be playing Can You Beat Kirk? I need two contestants. 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. What do I get? Well, you get a copy of A Lot Like Me, the book I wrote about my relationship with my father. What do you get if you don't win? Well, this is not the Democratic Party. This is not the DNC. You don't get a participation trophy if you lose. The categories are sports, this week in the news, famous lawyers, movies of the 1990s, which will be an audio clue, and vice presidents. So if you think you're strong in sports, this week in the news, famous lawyers, and I won't use My Cousin Vinny, famous lawyers, movies of the 1990s, which is an audio clue, and vice presidents. Call us right now, 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. We're going to play this right in the next segment. So call right now, 888-971-7243, 888-971-SAGE. Back to the PBS piece on the new Georgia voting machines. This aired in October.
And whether it provides a stronger defense against tampering than the traditional paper ballot. It's part of our ongoing Leading Edge series on science and innovation.
Oh, you're fine. In Georgia, early voting turnout is high. The presidential race is a toss-up, and both Senate seats are in play. So naturally, the political world is nervously watching what voters here will do, while in the world of computer science, they are tensely tracking what the voting machines will do.
Georgia's kind of a petri dish.
Alex Halderman is a professor of computer science at the University of Michigan.
There's a lot more we have to learn about Georgia's election system, and that's going to help inform how to better secure elections, not just in Georgia in November, but across the country for years to come.
He's among a handful of independent election security experts getting unprecedented access to the inner workings of the state's $107 million voting system rolled out earlier this year. Also taking a deep dive, election security white hat hacker Hari Hursty.
They have set up a complicated system which is centralized and doesn't seem to have any safeguards.
Georgia's vote tallying system is a complex assortment of laptops, iPads, magnetic cards, touchscreens, printers, and scanners. Lots of moving parts.
This is the poll pad. On Election Day, it is used to check in voters.
Rick Barron is Fulton County's Director of Registration and Elections. He gave me a demo.
It tells whether we issued an absentee by mail ballot, whether somebody's voted early, whether they've voted that absentee ballot, or whether they're still eligible to vote.
Once a voter is deemed eligible, the iPad activates a magnetic card, which in turn unlocks a so-called ballot marking device, or BMD.
This is a pretty complicated way to do something you could do with pen and paper. There are advantages here, right?
Yes. The advantages puts a true mark on the screen.
When done, the voter prints a ballot. Selections are recorded in human-readable text and in a QR code, which is read and counted by an optical scanner. Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, says this is more accurate than pen and paper.
The problem with pen and paper is sometimes you have your instructions on what you're supposed to do, but you end up with spoiled ballots. Sometimes people will put an X here, but then they'll circle this one here, or they'll make different marks on it. What did they really mean there?
Still, elections officials tell us they seldom see a hand-marked ballot where they can't determine voter intent. In 2019, Georgia bought the devices from a Canadian company called Dominion Voting Systems. They replaced paperless machines like these, made by a now-defunct company called Diebold Election Systems. A federal judge forced the state to scrap the discredited devices. Election security activist Marilyn Marks was part of the lawsuit that triggered the change. But for her, ballot marking devices, now used widely in 14 states, are not the ideal remedy.
We need paper records that are marked by the voter, with the voters on hand, where we know that was recorded the way that the voter wanted it recorded.
So she and the other plaintiffs took aim at the new voting machines. The lawsuit came into sharp focus after their chaotic debut in the June primary. The poll pads took as long as 30 hours to download the voter database, displayed the wrong races, and would randomly shut down. And the power-hungry ballot marking devices blew circuit breakers in numerous locations. Poll workers, many of whom had no hands-on training because of the pandemic, were often befuddled by the new technology.
We've learned a lot of lessons. We're putting technicians in every single polling place. We have to make sure that not only do the poll workers know how to use the equipment, but then these technicians are then going to be relied upon to fix any issues. We want to just fly under the radar and do our jobs and, stay away from the news.
But election security experts working for the plaintiffs in the lawsuit against the state have uncovered several troubling issues. Alex Halderman looked closely at the QR codes where the votes are encoded for the scanner.
By analyzing the structure of the QR codes, I've been able to learn that there's nothing that stops an attacker from just duplicating one. And the duplicate would count the same as the original barcode.
And in late September, another concern came to light. During testing, election workers found half the names of the 21 candidates for Senate intermittently disappeared from screens during the review phase. Dominion sent out a last-minute software patch.
I'm worried that the Georgia system is the technical equivalent to the 737 MAX. They've just made a last-minute software change that might well have unintended consequences and cause even more severe problems on Election Day.
You never want to rush something which is mission critical, and this is mission critical, into production without proper time of testing. That's really one of the ways bad actors are finding the vulnerabilities to exploit, is looking for honest vulnerabilities and finding out if they can be weaponized, if they can be exploited.
Despite all the concerns, federal judge Amy Totenberg decided to let the election proceed with the ballot marking device system. The Secretary of State says post-election audits will bring any QR code discrepancies to light.
We're in the process of really, continue to expand the capabilities that we have so we can audit more of the races. When we do the audit, we actually do it on the human readable portion, not on the QR code.
Alex Halderman and his team at the University of Michigan conducted a mock election to see if voters are likely to catch mistakes on the printouts. Only 7% spotted a deliberately planted error. So double-check your ballot before you scan. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Miles O'Brien in Atlanta.
And speaking of Dominion, they were supposed to attend a hearing with the Pennsylvania legislature at the last minute. According to the Republican spokesperson, they lawyered up and didn't attend.
Thinking Dominion was willing to publicly back up their product, which Pennsylvania taxpayers invested millions to purchase and voters entrusted with their sacred ballots, was truly remarkable. I truly felt Pennsylvanians and the nation could get some answers into the truth of the effectiveness of Dominion voting systems. Unfortunately, last evening, Dominion voting systems lawyered up and backed out of their commitment to the...
Coming up, can you beat Kirk? Leonard from Atlanta versus Patrick from Vacaville, California. Look out.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Republicans should be on to Georgia. Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, had a line from his most famous news conference ever. After a 41-14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, Belichick answered question after question with, "We're on to Cincinnati." After Joe Biden's victory was declared by media organizations on Saturday, the mantra of Republicans for the next 2 months should be, "We are on to Georgia." Because on January 5, Georgians will decide 2 United States Senate seats in runoff elections. The course of the nation over the next 2 years is in the balance. If Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win, Americans will have divided government and compromise. If left-wing, indeed radical Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock win, the nation will see Supreme Court packing, cuts in the military spending, and socialized medicine. If Trump wants a comeback in 2024, it starts in the Peach State on January 5. We're on to Georgia.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The situation in each state is a little different. In Arizona, they are simply refusing to have a recount, and that's outrageous. The law says you're only entitled to a mandatory recount if you lost by fewer than 500 votes. And that's designed for dog catcher elections. But for president in a state that casts 3 million votes, you're not going to have a 500 vote margin. In Georgia, they're having a recount, but the inspectors are 40 feet away. There's no way the Republican can see them doing this recount, much less check the ballot.
What is that? What kind of a joke is that? I mean, I don't really even understand.
Democrats being partisan. It's the election.
It's called cheating, Dick. It's called cheating. How do you? How is that possible? How can the lawyers? How can this be possible that they would allow what's obviously cheating?
I think Trump's people were asleep at the switch and should have been there in these polling places protesting. Certainly the recount. During the recount, they were protesting, but they were not listened to. Also in Georgia, I think I said earlier, but let me repeat, there were 200 people between the ages of 105 and 110 who voted. There were 2,000 people over the age of 100 who were supposed to have voted. And there were 27,000 people over the age of 90, between 90 and 100, who were said to have voted. And I wish everybody health in Georgia, but somehow I don't think all those people actually voted.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Let's go to a true expert in the field. His friends call him Fredo, and he's not happy with another medical professional called Dr. Atlas. And the question at hand is Thanksgiving. This is cut 7. I think Fredo's taken too many steroids. Play cut.
What the hell are you doing here? Yeah, it could be their last Thanksgiving. If you expose them to people who aren't wearing masks, who aren't socially distancing, and haven't been doing so, and haven't gotten tested, because they somehow think they don't want to get in on the con of COVID. You know, you want to hide on state news, you do it. But someday, you're going to have to deal with real questions. And either you're going to come on a show or you're going to do it. But you know what? We may go back to old school. And maybe the questions will come find you. Maybe when you're living your life nice and easy, because you don't have the concerns that these same people that you're telling to rise up, that they have. Maybe the questions will come and find you. Because you have to answer for that kind of guidance, let alone as a doctor.
Let me get this.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio. Later on this hour, we will be playing we'll be playing Phone It Bro. Coming up right now is Can You Beat Kirk? By the way, we were criticized for the Phone It Bros last couple of weeks. They said we were getting too soft. So these are a lot more difficult. I'll tell you about Phone It Bro later on. Let's see, we've got Patrick from Vacaville, California. He'll be squaring off against Leonard from Atlanta, Georgia. And Patrick, you called first, so you get to go first. How you doing, Patrick?
Hey, Larry, how you doing?
I'm doing extremely well. Patrick, the categories this week are sports, This Week in the News, Famous Lawyers, Movies of the 1990s, which will be an audio clue, and Vice Presidents. Where would you like to start, Patrick?
Movies from the 1990s.
Movies from the 1990s, okay. This is an audio clue. All I need you to do is tell me the movie. Are you ready, sir?
No, but go ahead.
I like your attitude.
You ever seen that show Cops? I was watching it one time, and there was this cop on. He was talking about this gunfight he had in the hallway with this guy, right? And he just unloaded on this guy, and nothing happened. He didn't hit nothing. Okay, it was just him and this guy. I mean, you know, it's freaky, but it happens.
Look, you want to play blind man? Go walk with the shepherd. But me, my eyes are wide open.
The category, Patrick, is Oscar-winning movies of the 1990s. I should have mentioned that. Oscar-winning movies of the 1990s. Have any idea what that movie is?
Oh, that throws me all off. My only guess is Pulp Fiction.
Your only guess is Pulp Fiction. Guess what? You are right, sir! Nicely done. 1994. Well done, Patrick.
It was an accident. Okay.
It works. We'll take it. You have sports, This Week in the News, Famous Lawyers, and Vice Presidents left. The score is 1-0. Patrick over Leonard. Where to next, sir?
Famous Lawyers.
Famous Lawyers. In the famous so-called Scopes monkey trial, Patrick, defense lawyer Clarence Darrow represented the teacher who was accused of violating state law by teaching evolution. A 3-time Democratic presidential candidate volunteered to assist the prosecution, and his assistance was accepted. What was his name?
Oh, boy.
A 3-time Democrat presidential candidate volunteered to assist the prosecution. What was that gentleman's name? The score is 1-0, Patrick over Leonard. And the tension is killing us.
It wasn't Desi Arnaz, was it?
I don't think so. All right, Patrick.
I knew that was a wrong answer.
Don't go away. Leonard, you're on the court. Leonard, how you doing?
Well, I could be better.
You're not happy with that last question, huh? I'll read it again.
I got the first one I knew cold. The second, this one, I'm not so sure.
I'll read it again. In the famous so-called Scopes monkey trial, defense lawyer Clarence Darrow, of course, represented the teacher who was accused of violating Tennessee state law by teaching evolution. A 3-time Democratic presidential candidate volunteered to assist the prosecution. What was his name? Score is 1-0.
Adlai Stevenson.
Adlai Stevenson. Negatron. The answer is William Jennings Bryant. Back to Patrick, who gave the last correct answer.
I was going to say William Jennings Bryant, if it helps. Didn't think it would help.
Yeah, my girlfriend always says, I was just going to say.
I was.
Yeah, I was going to on the tip of my tongue. Okay.
Honest.
It's still 1-0. You're still ahead, Patrick. You gave the last correct answer. You're still in control of the board. Sports, This Week in the News, and Vice Presidents.
This Week in the News.
This Week in the News. Pennsylvania, Patrick, according to the media, was won by Joe Biden. President Trump, of course, is filing a lawsuit to contest this. How many electoral votes does Pennsylvania have? Score is
I'm from
1-0.
Pittsburgh originally.
So you ought to know this.
Yeah, well, that's near Cleveland, so you should know.
Well, I do know. I wrote the question.
I'm just checking.
I wrote the question.
I'm going to say 27.
You're going to say 27. You're going to be wrong. Okay, let's go back to Leonard. Leonard, we're trying to get you on the board here, Leonard. How many electoral votes does Pennsylvania have, Leonard?
20.
20. That's what I'm talking about. The score is now 1-1, and Leonard's taking control of the board. We've got...
Let's go.
We got sports and VP left. Sports and vice presidents. Sports. Gymnastic events, Leonard, have been staged at the Olympics since 1896. Since then, there have been 30 female gymnasts who've won at least 5 total medals. The country with the most female gymnasts who have won 5 or more medals is the Soviet Union. The country with the third highest number of 5 or more female gymnast medal winners is us, United States. What country is number 2?
China.
Negative, Leonard. Let's go back to Patrick. Patrick?
Yeah?
Gymnastics.
Are you asking about Romania?
Am I asking about Romania? I am asking about Romania, and the score is now 2-0. Patrick over Leonard. Man.
Thank you, Nadia.
Smoked it. First one to give us first one, I think they have a 10, wasn't she? The first one to do a 10 on her, her event?
The only one deserving a 10 is me, okay?
Okay. Score is 2-0. Patrick over Leonard. We have one left. It is vice president, and here it is. When Richard Nixon resigned, Patrick, Gerald Ford, of course, became president. Who became Gerald Ford's vice president? Score is 2-0.
You're kidding, Larry.
I'm not kidding.
I was going to say Spiro Agnew. I'm not saying that, so don't ding me. I'm thinking, his vice president, Walter Mondale.
Walter Mondale. That would be a negatron. By the way, Mr. McConnell said Spiro Agnew, too. Spiro Agnew was vice president under Richard Nixon. He's the one who accepted bribes while literally in the vice president office, and he resigned under a scandal. Patrick?
Tax evasion. I know. I hate that stuff.
Yeah. So, Patrick, talk to me.
Did I win?
I'm sorry. Who did you say?
No, I said Spiro Agnew.
Right. You said Spiro Agnew. You said Spiro Agnew. The answer is Nelson Rockefeller. But at 2-0, Patrick is the winner.
Somebody give me an amen. I want to thank my fans.
I'm sorry. Say again, Mr. No, I don't. We did sports. We did This Week in the News. We did Famous Lawyers, movies of the 1990s, vice president. Was I supposed to go back to Leonard for vice president? No? So they both got it wrong. Right. So, Patrick, you are the winner, my friend. You won 2-0.
I love that. I love it when I'm the winner. That's twice this year.
Well, Patrick.
I'm sorry, this decade.
That's well done. Put Leonard on, Mr. McConnell.
Oh,
Leonard, you got smoked.
No, I didn't, Larry. Listen to this.
Okay.
First, you said it was 2-0. I got Pennsylvania with 20 electoral
You're right. 2-1.
That's number one.
My bad.
So it's 2-1. Number two, you didn't ask me the vice president question at all.
I didn't go back to you.
I want to recount.
Okay. All right. You know, Leonard, you're right. I didn't go back to you on that. So I need to do one more, Patrick, because I screwed that one up. So, Patrick, the score is 2-1. You are ahead. We're going to do one more to make up for my not going back to Leonard. So, Patrick, you're going first. Are you ready, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, this is like the election.
Bring it. Me and Giuliani. We're ready.
This is like the election in Georgia. All right, Patrick and Leonard, you guys don't go anywhere. Let's do this on the other side. We're going to do one more because I didn't go back to Leonard. You're right, Leonard. I did not go back to you on vice president. I thought I screwed that up. But I got another question, and both of you guys are going to participate. I need a number without going over. We're going to resolve this. It is 2-1. Patrick over Leonard. I'm Larry Elder.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I just want you to know this may disturb some of you, and I have to take that risk to be honest at all times. There are two right now. There are two major possibilities: that Joe Biden won the election honestly, or that he won it dishonestly. And I'm not saying that Joe Biden was involved in the dishonesty if that was the case. I'm just making. I mean, there is a third option, and that is the
that if he won it dishonestly, then President Trump won it honestly. I understand that. That's a very difficult hurdle to prove. I think we have to realize that. He has every right to try it. As Alan Dershowitz, who I assume voted for Biden, has just made clear in a column. The president has every right to try, and there does seem to be a cheating. But I would pose this question. Since I don't want any conservatives to make up scenarios that are not true, that would bother me even more than if the left lied. Because if my side lied, then we really have little, if any, hope for the society. So it gives you an idea of how committed I am to the truth.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Charlie Kirk Show.
Now, mind you, while the chattering class is now calling for a cancellation of Thanksgiving, they're calling out for pseudo-Gestapo squads to go out to arrest people that are gathering on Thanksgiving. California lawmakers head to Maui with lobbyists despite pandemic and travel warnings. This is from Politico. They did a nice work of journalism here by Katie Murphy. Roughly 100 people from 4 states converged at Fairmont Kealani for a 4-day legislative conference organized by the Independent Voter Project. The 18th annual event was a third of its regular size, but it drew 20 lawmakers from California, Texas, and Washington state. The theme, how to reopen state economies amid the public health crisis. So it's okay to go travel to Hawaii, probably on taxpayer dime, with lobbyists, but somehow at the same time we must cancel Thanksgiving. All the while, we have Governor Mussolini. I say that kiddingly. Media matters, okay? Half kiddingly, all right? Governor Mussolini was found in Napa Valley at French Laundry, no social distancing, no masks, well over the declared edict of not allowing people to have tables of over 5 to 6 people. And let's pull this picture up on screen. Looks like Governor Newsom on screen here, who he said he was outdoors. He obviously wasn't. He was with 12 people with looks like very, very expensive glasses of wine. I mean, if I could just look at a picture of what the American ruling class is, it's this picture.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today. Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Here's some big picture stuff. 2 things are going to remain true. Much of the country will stay convinced that this election was not legitimate, it wasn't fair.
Just go to youtube.com/The Larry Elder Show Radio and click on the subscribe button.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. I am Larry Elder. We are ReliefFactor.com studio. Next segment, we will be playing Phone a Bro. I need 2 contestants, 888-971-7243, 888-971-SAGE. It is a last person standing contest. 5 sound bites from this week's group of shows. And we've been criticized the last couple of weeks for the clues being too easy. We are making amends for that this time. So call right now, 888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243. Now, last segment, I messed up by asking Patrick, who was in control of the board, a question. Patrick got it wrong. I should have gone to Leonard for Leonard to respond. I didn't do that. So we're going to start that last round over again. Patrick, again, gets to go first. This is a clue that requires a number, Patrick. I need a number without going over. Whoever gets closest to it without going over wins. If you both go over, the one who gets closer to it will win. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am, Larry.
And the category is money. According to Forbes, as of March 18, 2020, how many billionaires are there in the world, Patrick?
Oh, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Sorry, I'm channeling.
Come on, man. You know the thing. Come on, you know the thing, Patrick.
You know the thing that life, liberty, and you know the thing. How many billionaires in the world?
As of March 2020, without going over, how many billionaires are there in the world according to Forbes?
Okay, not counting me. I'm going to say 1,400.
1,400. Okay, Patrick, do not go away. Leonard, talk to me, Leonard. How many billionaires are in the world as of 2020 March, according to Forbes magazine? Your opponent said 1,400. You were saying what?
Larry, I have to compliment you on your bumper music because it was "Give Me One Last Chance," and you're giving me another chance.
You got it.
Okay, that didn't go unnoticed. I'm going to say 2,000.
You're going to say 2,000. You know the score is 2-1. If you say 2,000, that means we tie. Because the answer is 2,095. You couldn't have been more close, Leonard. Yes. The score is now 2-2. We're going to have to do another one now. Leonard, you are now in control of the board. This is the second tie break. The category is famous comedy movies, and I need you to tell me from what movie this comes. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
You know what? That's not going to work either. We need another number, don't we? So both of them can participate. You know, I've so mangled this contest, I think we're going to just have to give both the prize to Leonard and to Patrick. What do you think? Yeah. Yeah, Patrick, Leonard, I needed to have another clue with a number, and I have another clue with a number. I just now came up with it. The category is sports. Leonard, you're in control of the board. Without going over, Leonard, are you ready, sir?
Yes, I am.
Category sports. Without going over, I need a number. How many home runs did Babe Ruth hit in his career? Need a number without going over.
How many home runs did
Babe Ruth hit in his career?
Well, Hank Aaron beat him.
That is true.
I think it was 714.
714 is your guess. Okay, don't go away. Patrick, without going over, how many home runs did Babe Ruth hit in his career? Your opponent says 714.
Well, Larry, gonna mess you up again, buddy. He did hit 714. That's my answer.
Mr. McConnell, we need another one. We need another number.
How about how tall I am?
We need another famous number. Let me think. My famous number.
How about how many Super Bowls the Steelers won in the 70s? How about that?
I got it. Another category is sports. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm ready. Whatever. I'm ready.
How many consecutive games did Cal Ripken play without going over?
Oh, good Lord. Is this for me, Patrick?
It's for you, Patrick, yes.
How many consecutive games without going over?
Without going over, did Cal Ripken play in a row?
Yeah. 3,100.
3,100. Okay, let's find out what your opponent says. Leonard, you heard the question? How many consecutive games did Cal Ripken play without going over? Your opponent said 3,100.
Larry, I hate to... Larry, I hate to tell you screwed it up. I had control because I got that one right.
Oh, no.
It was my turn. Okay. Just so you know that.
Okay, I got it.
This is easy.
Okay.
I am a baseball maven. I think it was 2,622.
It's 2,632. So either way, you would have won, Leonard. You nailed it. Very well done, my friend. Sorry about the...
Somebody give me an amen.
Sorry about the host. Sorry about the host, guys. Leonard wins. Leonard, you'll get a copy of A Lot Like Me. Thank you so much. Patrick, I'm sorry that I just messed that up, but you guys were good sports. Why don't you get Patrick's information too? Give him a book as well because he was so tolerant. All right, thanks, guys. Now, how many years have I been telling you about Relief Factor? I can't get over it. 3 consecutive tie breaks, right? If you're struggling with back, neck, shoulder, hip, or knee pain, even general muscle aches and pains, I suggest you order the 3-week Quick Start, discounted still to only $19.95. My goodness, that's less than $1 a day to see if we can get you out of pain. After that, less than the cost of a cup of coffee a day to stay out of pain. ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-500-8384, 800-500-8384.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Republicans should be on to Georgia. Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, had a line from his most famous news conference ever. After a 41-14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, Belichick answered question after question with, "We're on to Cincinnati." After Joe Biden's victory was declared by media organizations on Saturday, the mantra of Republicans for the next 2 months should be, "We are on to Georgia." Because on January 5, Georgians will decide 2 United States Senate seats in runoff elections. The course of the nation over the next 2 years is in the balance. If Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win, Americans will have divided government and compromise. If left-wing, indeed radical Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock win, the nation will see Supreme Court packing, cuts in the military spending, and socialized medicine. If Trump wants a comeback in 2024, it starts in the Peach State on January 5. We're on to Georgia.
The Pepperdine School of Public Policy, America's unique graduate program for leaders. Learn more at publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
The situation in each state is a little different. In Arizona, they are simply refusing to have a recount, and that's outrageous. The law says you're only entitled to a mandatory recount if you lost by fewer than 500 votes. And that's designed for dog catcher elections. But for president in a state that casts through 3 million votes, you're not going to have a 500 vote margin. In Georgia, they're having a recount, but the inspectors are 40 feet away. There's no way the Republican can see them doing this recount, much less check the ballot.
What is that? What kind of a joke is that? I mean, I don't really even understand.
Democrats being partisan. It's the election.
It's called cheating, Dick. It's called cheating. How do you? How is that possible? How can the lawyers? How can this be possible that they would allow what's obviously cheating?
I think Trump's people were asleep at the switch and should have been there in these polling places protesting. Certainly the recount. During the recount, they were protesting, but they were not listened to. Also in Georgia, I think I said earlier, but let me repeat, there were 200 people between the ages of 105 and 110 who voted. There were 2,000 people over the age of 100 who were supposed to have voted. And there were 27,000 people over the age of 90, between 90 and 100, who were said to have voted. And I wish everybody health in Georgia, but somehow I don't think all those people actually voted.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
Welcome back to the pain-free ReliefFactor.com studios. It's the Sage, Larry Elder.
I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat. I'm too fast. Champion from the crib. King. Born to town. Go to champ from the crib. I'm feeling great. I'm ready to go to war right now.
I have tussled with a whale, I done handcuffed lightning, throw thunder in jail. Now you know I'm bad. Only last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243, Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio. That can only mean one thing. It is time for Phone a Bro. Kirk, what are the rules?
Okay, Larry's going to play 5 sound clips from this week's show, and all you have to do is guess who's speaking. And if you can't guess, then you can ask for a clue. Phone a Bro, and you'll get one of my world-renowned clues to help you get the answer.
Now, Mark, you called first, sir. Mark, how are you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Mark, You cannot use a phone number, as you heard him say this on the first clue. Now, this is a last person standing contest, which means whoever gets the fifth and final clue correctly wins, no matter how many he or she got wrong up until then. So you can let your opponent go first if you want, hoping that he'll stumble along the way, or you can go first, Mark. What do you want to do?
I'll defer to my opponent.
Sounds good. All right, Mark, do not go away. Matt from Girard, Pennsylvania. Matt, how are you?
Hello.
Matt, you're going first whether you want to or not. Are you ready, sir?
Oh, boy, here it goes.
Okay, Matt, and again, on the first clue, you cannot use a phone number. You have to get that one on your own. Are you ready?
I guess I'm ready.
Here we go.
Pfizer announced on Monday that its China virus vaccine is more than 90% effective.
Matt, who is that gentleman?
President Trump.
President Trump. Notice he called it a China virus. Still doing it. Soundbite number 2, and you can use a phone number. They're going to get increasingly more difficult. Here we go, Matt.
But as you noted, 4 years of investigating. We had a special counsel. We had the FBI, Peter Strzok, looking into this before the president was even president, trying to frame him, essentially.
Who is that young lady?
Oh,
if you need
I know who she is, but I'm going to have to phone her, bro. Maybe it'll jog my memory.
Okay.
I know what she does.
I was going to say she is the White House press secretary.
Yes.
That doesn't help you.
She's the White House press secretary, and her name is jumped out of my mind. Oh, rats, I ruined it.
All right. Matt, do not go away. Let's go back to Mark. Mark, I'll play it again.
But as you noted, 4 years of investigating. We had a special counsel. We had the FBI, Peter Strzok, looking into this before the president was even president, trying...
Kayleigh McEnany, you are right. Okay, Mark, here is soundbite number 3, and again, you can use a phone number if necessary.
To speak about me at every single rally. It didn't really matter where he was. Sometimes multiple times.
Ilhan Omar. Soundbite number 4.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. As a woman of conscience and faith, I cannot concede that. But my assessment is the law currently allows no further viable remedy.
Who is that young lady, Mark? If you need a phone number.
I'm sorry, I had a phone. I had a phone call coming in, and I couldn't hear it all.
Okay, I'll play it again.
Can you play it one more time?
Of course.
Okay.
This is not a speech of concession, because concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, or proper. As a woman of conscience and faith, I cannot concede that. But my assessment is the law currently allows no further viable remedy.
Oh, I want to say that's Trump's lawyer, whose name does not come to my mind at the moment. Can I phone a bro?
You can phone a bro, of course. She was the gubernatorial candidate in Georgia, lost the race.
Oh, Stacey Abrams.
Okay. Mark, you're on the 5th and final clue. Unfortunately, you've exhausted your phone, bro, so you have to get this one on your own. Here we go.
Obama feels a pressure. Many blacks do. We all do, really. That if you don't really take on a negative attitude toward America, you are somehow inauthentic as a black person.
Mark, you're on your own.
Is that Thomas Sowell?
Is that Thomas Sowell? That is not Thomas Sowell. Mark, do not go away. Matt, this is the 5th and final clue. This is the most important clue. This is the clue that determines who wins the contest. I'll play it one more time.
Obama feels a pressure. Many blacks do. We all do, really. That if you don't really take on a negative attitude toward America, you are somehow inauthentic as a black person.
Now, Matt, if you need a phone, bro, you can get one.
I might as well.
Okay, I played that soundbite today in the first hour.
I know you did. I listened to it.
He is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institute.
I'm just going to have to, as the last person said, concede it to Mark, because I can't remember his name. I just enjoyed what he said.
Okay, all right. Don't go away. Mark, I'll give you an additional clue.
Now,
I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
Okay, his
I think I know who it is, but go ahead.
first name starts with an S as in Sam. Last name starts with an S as in Stan.
Oh, that's tougher because what was it? He was a senior fellow where?
Hoover Institute, Stanford.
With initials SS.
SS, like as in Superman.
Oh man, you got me. I'm stumped.
All right. Okay, don't go. We're going back to Matt. Matt, more clues. Matt, his last name is it Ms. McConnell, what would you say? Last name? It's a metal. Last name is a metal. SS.
His last name is a metal.
Mm-hmm. Let me give you another clue.
Something steel.
Something steel. Did you say steel? Something steel? I think you said steel.
Somebody give me an amen.
His name is Shelby Steele, Matt. Well done. Outstanding. Let's put Mark on. Mark, Shelby Steele. Oh, I think you lost. You just disconnected him. My producer just killed your opponent. Anyway, Matt, very well done, Matt. Matt, stay on the line. We'll get all your information. He lost anyway, right? So, Matt, very well done. Shelby Steele, Stacey Abrams, Ilhan Omar, Kelly McEnany, and Donald Trump.
Trending now on the Dennis Prager Show.
I take a risk in saying this, but it'll be very hard to be optimistic if the left gets control of the Senate, the House, and the presidency.
Well, they'll have absolute free reign, and also that makes massive changes to the direction of this country and drive us towards socialism and a permanent Democrat majority. You know what they'll be doing, right? Not only is it the Green New Deal, the $15 minimum wage, the gradual takeover of the healthcare system, it's court packing, it's statehood for D.C. and Puerto Rico. I mean, it's everything that we fear could happen. But we have to make sure that conservatives get out there and vote early. If I were a Democrat, I'd say vote often, but we only vote once. But truly, December 14th, we got to.
Why is it advantageous to vote early?
Well, because the other option in some cases is the mail-in ballots. It's Christmas time. It's it's New Year's. People are going to be on vacation, Dennis, and that's my biggest concern.
So it's to ensure that people vote.
Yes.
Okay,
on our
fine.
side,
All right.
I want to make sure. And Dennis, I don't want to get into the whole mail-in ballot thing again, right? And if our side just kind of leans on that and resorts to that, we're just going to have issues yet again. So we got to get our folks out.
All right. So let me address that issue. But are the Republicans doing anything to ensure a fair election?
Well, there's a lot going on the election integrity. Obviously now with the recount and everything that's going on, there's a lot of focus on that. But every day there seems to be more information that's coming out on election integrity, and especially on the mail-in ballot issue.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube today.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. Republicans should be on to Georgia. Bill Belichick, coach of the New England Patriots, had a line from his most famous news conference ever. After a 41-14 loss to the Kansas City Chiefs in 2014, Belichick answered question after question with, "We're on to Cincinnati." After Joe Biden's victory was declared by media organizations on Saturday, the mantra of Republicans for the next 2 months should be, "We are on to Georgia." Because on January 5, Georgians will decide 2 United States Senate seats in runoff elections. The course of the nation over the next 2 years is in the balance. If Republican Senators David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler win, Americans will have divided government and compromise. If left-wing, indeed radical Democratic challengers John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock win, The nation will see Supreme Court packing, cuts in the military spending, and socialized
not wearing a mask and yelling with his friends, that's okay. Look, he is phonier than a vegan at a steakhouse, and he just proved it, and that video just undid him. But there's a fix to all this, whether it's Lori Lightfoot or Newsom or the mayor of D.C. A simple fix. If you're a government official and you shut other people's businesses down, you don't get paid. Because if they lose their paycheck and you're the one responsible, you don't get your paycheck.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243, Larry Elder, ReliefFactor.com studio. Now, we're all getting ready to head into the weekend. I want to thank everybody who's already donated to my Angel Tree campaign to make Christmas brighter for some 2.7 million children here in America with a mom or a dad in prison. One of those incarcerated moms, a woman named Michelle, is now helping other prisoners reach out through our Friends at Prison Fellowship. She says her first experience meeting with other female inmates wasn't easy.
Scary women I would have been frightened of, were now sitting across from me in this little tiny room where our knees are actually almost touching, and I'm helping them fill out an application for their children for Angel Tree. Angel Tree brought in hope, a little ray of light to a very, very dark place, and allowed us moms to be able to reach outside the prison walls to our families and let our children know that they weren't forgotten and that we were still thinking about them. Angel Tree just made a huge difference in my life.
Your gift can literally, as you just now heard, change a child's life. Plus, every Angel Tree family is also given access to a free, easy-to-read copy of the Bible in English or in Spanish. So go to my website, LarryElder.com, click on the Angel Tree banner, and thank you so much for joining my campaign. Now, the zip poll question I left you with yesterday, actually, there were two. Assuming Joe Biden becomes president, do you think we will re-enter the Iran deal? 90% of you said yes. Assuming he becomes president, do you think we'll re-enter the climate change Paris Agreement? 91% of you say yes. Here's the one for tonight. We'll go over the results on Monday. Do you still believe that eventually President Trump will be declared the winner of the election? Either yes or no. In order to participate, you must be a member of the Zip community. Go to your app store, search under Zip Poll USA, and be sure and use my code SAGE, S-A-G-E. Matt from Girard, Pennsylvania said he had something to say. Matt, thank you very much for holding on.
Hey, thanks, Larry. Hey, I just wanted to say that I listen. I thank you so much for your show, and because we here in the Pennsylvania area, we would have no clue about yesterday's press conference or anything that the president says, because our local channels, whether it be the TV stations or the radio, they refuse to talk about it. Our local conservative, unless I call in and bring it up, they'll talk about Homer Simpson.
Wow.
It's bizarre.
Well, Matt, it's like it never happened. Matt, thank you so much for the compliment. By the way, Donald Trump Jr. reportedly has tested positive for COVID-19. He reportedly has no symptoms, but did test positive a couple of days ago, apparently. All right, everybody, we had quite a fantastic week, right? I'll see you on Monday. Be sure to be here on time. I will be checking attendance. We got a country to save.